No, but you wasn't savages when you came over here.
Right,
You was the epitome of what peace is all about. You were the ones that like I said before in the studio show with Elder Tahar, you fucking Edomites, man, you bring out the worst out of people, man. You bring out the fucking worst out of people, man. You motherfuckers. Go ahead, man.
And it says, to further go on, it says an Argentine
Hey, because you know what, man, you do get mad because you think about the fucking audacity of these fucking Edomites, man. These fucking honkies. It's like it's imaginable the shit that these motherfuckers say. It's like they have a nerve now to get mad because shit is turning against them now. All these years that they've been in America, they've been living it up lovely, you know. But then now because the tables are turning and they're not getting what they used to get, now all of a sudden, oh, this is racism, you know, because affirmative action, you know, that's not right. Motherfucker, are you crazy? Go ahead, brother.
Yes, they are. Right. It says an Argentine tribe where a stone slab with 3 commandments was found causes no less interest. Do not steal, do not lie, do not kill. One may assume that these commandments are from the Old Testament and that they appeared in these lands before the arrival of the Spaniards.
See? Before the arrival of the Spaniards. Go ahead.
In 1974, in this very same region, were found round stone slabs with menorahs, 7-pointed candlesticks on them.
7-pointed, not like you fucking so-called Jews with the 9-pointed candlesticks. 7.
The right way.
The right way, the way the white men don't want you to say. Because when you go, I believe it was Exodus the 25th chapter, it says you're going to have a candelabra or a candle that's coming straight up, and it has 6 prongs coming out of it, which makes 7. All right? That's the menorah, not the 9. And you know why they do that? Because just in case, you know, Jake start waking up, oh, I found out I'm an Israelite. So, and then when you go to the store, the majority of menorahs you're going to find are the ones with the 9 prongs. Because they know that that's off. I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead, man.
It's the truth. It says, in 1974,
I'm ready to start.
In this very same region, were found round stone slabs with menorahs, 7-pointed candlesticks on them. Along the sides of these menorahs, in the Aramaic language, was the inscription Passover. The Aramaic language.
Hold up. The inscription of Passover.
Pesach.
Now, what role would the Israelites that were here play as far as the Passover is concerned? They would play the part of a stranger. Why? Because they were strangers to the land of Jerusalem, and they couldn't go back to Jerusalem. But that's another lesson. Go ahead, bro.
And the thing is that you, like the brother said, you ain't gonna have no other nations, Moabites or whatever, doing these things unless they trying to call themselves following Esau, right? Which is Judaism, right? Which is not the scripture. That's not the truth. Right. That's bullshit. That's some religious shit that they created. You ain't gonna find the other nations doing it. They were doing this thing naturally.
Right.
Naturally.
That's right.
It was in their spirit to do these things. Not that they had to go to a synagogue and try to learn somebody. They were doing it naturally because they were the people of the Lord that was doing it back then. And basically, you fucking motherfuckers, you lousy ass excuses of a nigga, a human beings. The Most High. That's why you ain't doing nothing, man. All you doing is making stupid little counterattacks that hold no weight. All right, you're being demonic, okay? Because you're not going out there teaching that. Show me you guys going into that on the streets in the public. The same gospel we teaching you brothers right now. We'll go out right out there on the street corners and teach it.
And on the way to the camp.
And on the way to the camps. And you brothers know we stand by the gospel that the Lord gave us, man. This word, this truth. That's right. So show me you niggas doing that, man. Other than making some bullshit little videos trying to counteract us, because why? Most of you guys been paid off to try to put out this information.
Right, that's right.
But let me tell you this, man, or let me say what the scriptures say. Yahweh Shai said there's none lost.
That's right.
Save the son of perdition.
And what you guys represent, the son of perdition.
So you ain't gonna, the elect is not gonna be deceived. You got brothers, and you're gonna see more brothers coming up with more videos, like you had the brothers in Chicago, they touched this subject a little while ago. You got brothers up there in Toronto, the brothers the brothers in Holland, you got the brothers out there in Texas, them brothers, right?
Yeah, all the brothers from
brothers is touching this thing, man. Because you ain't running that bullshit on them, man. Them brothers is sound in the faith, bro.
And you know what? That's the spirit Because a matter of fact, I just read a comment from the brother. I believe it was a brother in South Carolina, GMS Rooted and Built. His page is GMS Rooted and Built 3, and he was cursing them niggas out, and it was all capital letters. Now when you write something, well, these niggas, they write in capital letters because they're retarded. But when a brother writes in all capital letters, you know, brother in GMS writes in all capital letters, that's because they're upset and pissed off with you motherfuckers, and they're fed up with your bullshit. And he basically said, you know what, there's going to be all kind of videos coming out now of the Native American Indians and all these tribes being Israelites. That's beautiful, man. You know, y'all brothers, you can flood these devils with that information because you know what, it's that time. All right? For what? It's 2012, since 1960 going on what? 1969, which is about 1970, 30, over 40 years, the word has been going out, and the main people that was being gathered was Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, and some of the other Latin tribes that were in the area. Now it's time to gather the rest of Israel from around the world. That's why, beginning with Elder Tahar, Elder Gabar, Elder Rakai, and other elders, the spirit has been now that you're going to have Israelites out there that look like the other nations, but they're Israelites. And then further on down the road, there's going to be the brother that's going to make videos that's showing that the so-called natives of this land are Israelites also. You know, so you brother, whatever information you got, man, you have that right away to go forward with it and push it out and bring out all this information and flood these devils with the right information.
Right, don't hold back, man.
Right,
don't hold back.
The way that the white men don't want you to do.
That's right. Was that it on that, brother?
That's it.
All right.
Back in here and
then we, you know, if you got more, bring it out, and then we finish this up. We want to finish this up, and then any other information you brothers got, bring it out, man.
It says in 1974, in this very same region were found round stone slabs with menorahs, 7-pointed candlesticks on them. Along the sides of these menorahs in the Aramaic language was the inscription Passover. The Aramaic language, we recall, is a language of ancient Israel. Alongside the slab was found a long stone in a shape which resembles a brick with an engraving of a ship, the emblem of the Zebulun tribe, and with engraved words Zipporah, the name of Moses' wife, and perhaps the name of the ship. Does this mean that the Jews sailed here on a ship? Scientists think that the stone is nearly 3,000 years old, which would make sense, because going back 3,000 years would be going back roughly to about the time of
during the time when the Syrian captivity was going on. And now notice they say, because they keep using the word Jew. They said it keeps saying nearly it keeps saying the word Jew, because these devils don't understand the difference between Jew or the Judites or the kingdom of Judah and the kingdom of Israel, which represents the other 10 tribes. So it says Zebulun. Now, was Zebulun a part of the southern kingdom? No. Was Zebulun a part of the kingdom of Judah? No. They were part of the southern kingdom, I mean the northern kingdom, which was the kingdom of Israel. And it spoke about a ship. Why? Because when they left the land of Assyria, they came over here to the Americas on ships. And Zebulun today is the main port of ships, which is Central America, beginning with Guatemala all the way down to Panama. And in that land, which you faggots don't like to accept, which I did a lesson on that, on the borders of Zidon, you have Zidonians that left relics over here, which were the Olmecs, and they have their big Negro heads that they left over here when they came over here to bring back goods to King Solomon. And they left their stones mainly through Central America. Why? I mean, that's spiritual in itself. Why didn't they go into the mainland of America and leave it there, or down into South America and leave it there? Which they probably left a couple of relics here and there. But the main relics they left was what they called the Olmec lands. What are the Olmec lands? The lands of Central America, which were the Zidonians, which is the borders of Zidon, because they claimed that as a border. Assholes.
Which is because back then, they didn't believe the world was flat. Fucking
Contrary to popular belief.
Contrary to popular belief. They knew that about this the uninhabited earth. But now they would come over here and they would find certain things or whatever, mainly the Canaanites.
They would get raw materials to beautify Jerusalem.
Which that was going back during the time of Solomon. But now, the first people to actually inhabit that land were the tribes, Israel. They came here for that purpose. And guess what? With that, lets you know they knew who they were.
That's right.
They knew about the different tribes. You know, Esau came like he did in anything and everything else. He came
And distorted.
and distorted all of that information.
You
The
mean,
tribes
somebody
knew who they
get Luke
were.
8:17.
If you go to the, if you're able to talk to a lot of the tribes that are up in the mountains, because what happened was a lot of the Indian tribes such as Zebulun, Ash, a lot which Esau came in against them just like it came in against Gad. And what happened was a lot of them fled into the mountains and in certain obscurity. All right, they got the hell out of Dodge. But now if you're able to talk to some of them or whatever, they'll explain to you their history, and then you'll see the resemblance. Basically what the brother's bringing out in this book about how they tied into the tribes of the nation of Israel.
That's it.
All right.
So bring that out,
Luke
brother,
what?
real quick.
It
Hey,
says
you got it.
Luke 8 and 17. For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest.
Right.
Nothing is secret. Go ahead, bro.
Yep, slack it, because everything is for its time. See, we had to go, like the scriptures say that Paul wrote in Thessalonians, that time should not come except there be a falling away first. Meaning, in other words, Judah had to fall, go into captivity. The other nations, the other tribes, Slakia, which was the northern kingdom, they had to come over to this land. They had to be conquered by Esau. All right, they had to, like the scriptures say, they had to discontinue from their heritage, which a lot of you assholes don't know about that. That all had to happen. But now it's the time where what? Where now everything is being brought back in because, like the brother mentioned, the thing of the buoy effect.
Yep.
You can only push a buoy down for so long. A buoy is always going to rise to the top.
That's right.
So that's the same thing. There's truth and there's knowledge and there's information, man. The Lord the truth is always going to come right back and surface, man. And that's why, like he said, the brother said that there's going to be more videos proving that God and the other tribes are Israelites or the Indian tribes.
It's time for the
We in that
so-called Latin tribe, Native American Indian tribes to wake up.
And that's why now all of a sudden, you never had these devils, these Edomites, which control the media. Now all of a sudden they want to try to put this information out about the different tribes of Israel and try to put it onto these other nations.
Yeah, and that happened. That happened after they heard about the
Exactly.
because this truth about the tribes was going back to 1969 with Abba Bivens, and then after Abba Bivens passed, then the torch was passed on to King Masha, Elder Ariah, Elder Yaquab, and the men that was there.
Yep.
On down the line to Elder Tahar,
Yep.
you know, and the men that you see today, you know. So prior to that, they wasn't trying to bring out, oh well, this people over here, they're of the tribes of Israel. These people over there, that didn't happen, I believe, till like the 90s.
Really?
Through National Geographic, and these assholes, the same assholes that say that we use Esau's research to bring out information, they use information that these gutter rats, so-called Jews, bring out to try to prove their point. Because the so-called Jews, they had a rabbi, because these devils, they took one of the last videos that we did on this issue, and what they did was they put them up, and they had a so-called rabbi, a gutter rat with a big ass beard, and the so-called naked archaeologist, which is nothing but another gutter rat without a beard or a short beard. And what they did was they said, okay, well, these people over here in China, they're keeping these customs of the Israelites. You know why? Because them so-called Jews, they're going to put out disinformation out there. Now, those people are not Israelites, and they putting that information out there because of the fact that they're trying to get people that are waking up to who the Israelites are to go and follow that bullshit. Right. And these niggas put that out to try to prove that, well, the Gooks are the Gooks are the Native Americans because the Gooks were keeping the custom and the tradition. That was something that was set up by the so-called white man. And let's say it wasn't set up by them gutter rats. A lot of them are Israelites that were keeping the customs, and that's the point we made in the lesson that we did, that some of them people that's keeping the customs of Israel are Israelites. Some of them were doing it because the gutter rats were going around and pushing it. Now, if the line goes back before that, that's because some of them are Israelites, because you had Israelites that were scattered among all these nations.
That's right. That's right.
So get your fucking facts right, you faggot. You got any more, brother? Give me a Daniel. Matter of fact, read Luke 8:17 again, and get Daniel 2 and 28.
I got Luke 8 and 17 right here. It says, for nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad.
And that's why this information is coming up. This is not something that we made up. This is something that's in the records. It's in the history. And for the longest time, they was being suppressed by the white man. The same people that wrote about it, they were suppressing it. The same people that came over here and witnessed these things were suppressing it. Why? Because they didn't want the world to know that these people are Israelites. But you know what? Doesn't matter, because it's still, the truth is pure. The truth has nothing holding it down. There's no weights on the truth. And the truth is always being pushed to the top.
Man,
and it's going to float to the top of the water.
I got something else for you in this book.
You know what?
Adair.
Let him read this real quick, and then you can bring that out.
Daniel chapter 2 verse 22.
28.
28. Okay, cunt. 28. Can I read 22 and then jump?
Okay, yeah.
It says, he revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with him.
Because anything that's being secret, the Most High knows. I don't give a fuck how dark it is in that room. You can't see your hand in front of your face. Whatever you're doing in that room is going to be brought to the surface. That's why all this information is coming out now. Because for the longest it was being hid. But now it's coming out to the light. Go ahead.
28. But there is a power in heaven that revealeth secrets.
There is a power in heaven that revealeth secrets. That's why these things are coming out. Because prior to the 60 to 69, 70 around there, the majority of Israelites didn't know that they were Israelites. We just all thought that we were just whatever. You know, we were just Indians, you know, Boricua, Taino Indians or whatever, Seminole Indians, Native American Indian, whatever, Muskogees, Black, Haitian, West Indian. Our people all thought that that's what they were. But after a certain period of time, the Most High revealed those secrets. Go ahead.
Right. But there is a power in heaven that revealeth secrets and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days.
In the latter days. No, and that was speaking about in the latter days of Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom. But in today's lesson, because the scriptures say what? The things that were written aforetime was written for our learning. So there is a power in heaven that revealeth secrets. And that's why these secrets are coming out now. You got some?
What you were saying earlier when you said about them, how they were saying that the Gadites and different tribes in the Americas are Chinese and this and that bullshit. Now, James Adair says this in History of the American Indian by James Adair, page 73 and 74. Some have supposed the Americans, talking about the American Indians, to be descent from the Chinese, but neither their religion, laws, customs, and etc. agree in the least with those of the Chinese.
Did you hear that, bitch?
The customs of the Native American Indians.
Read that again, my brother.
Okay, I'm gonna read it again. Page 73 here at the bottom. Some have supposed the Americans. Some have supposed the Americans to be descended from the Chinese, but neither their religion, laws, customs, etc. agree in the least with those of the Chinese.
Did you hear that, bitch?
Which sufficiently proves they are not of that line. Besides, as our best ships now are almost half a year in sailing to China, or from thence to Europe, it is very unlikely they should attempt such dangerous discoveries in early time, with their supposed small vessels against rapid currents.
Right. That was before, prior to the 1400s. That was it's talking about going way back during the time when the Israelites came over here to the side of the world around 724 BC. Or 720 BC in that era, because when you bring it up to the 1400s, the Chinese had a major shipping industry, and they had certain ships that were able to sail the seas, right, and to be able to withstand all the storms and the hurricanes and tornadoes and the monsoons that were brought, and they were able to come over to this side of the world. That's why in 1421 there's an actual map, a Chinese map of the so-called Americas, because they came over to this side of the world and they made a map. But prior to that, they didn't have the means to come over here. Now you might say, well, what about the Israelites? How did they come over here? Well, first of all, the Israelites that were in the land of Syria, they already knew about King Solomon's navy. They already knew about the Sidonians. They already knew how they built their ships. So the ships that they built, even if they were small or a little larger or just not fit to make it to the side of the world, the Lord said what? That he held back the storms and the floods so that they can pass to the side of the world. Why? To fulfill the prophecies of the Most High.
Right.
That's why.
Got some more for you.
Go ahead, brother.
It says, this is dealing with, it says, in early time, it's talking about the question if the Chinese in early times, basically back in 700 something BC were able to sail this way. In early times, with their supposed small vessels against rapid currents and in dark and sickly monsoons, especially as it were very probable they were unacquainted with the use of the lodestone to direct their course. Talking about the early Chinese, they weren't acquainted with something called the lodestone, which was used as a weight on the boat, so you can navigate the boat through, you know, rigorous and treacherous waters. It says China is about 8,000 miles distant from the American continent, which is twice as far across the Atlantic Ocean. We are not informed by any ancient writer of their maritime skill, or so much as any inclination that way besides. Small coasting voyages, the winds blow likewise with a little variation from east to west.
Them waters are treacherous. That's
right.
why. What do you think Paul told them people that were trying to leave that island? He said, look, just stay, let's winter here, you know, because it's going to be rough waters. And what they do, they ain't listen. And what happened to that ship? That ship got jacked up and beat down. Why? And that was just in the Mediterranean Sea. So imagine in the open sea of like of an ocean like the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific Ocean or something like that.
Be with you.
The Most High Yahweh Shemel Shai got to be with you for you to cross that.
That's right.
You know, so the scriptures specifically say that the Lord held back those floods and those winds and that storm so that they can get to their passage can be over here safely. Why? Because the Lord had a purpose for these people in the last days.
Right. That purpose in the last days. As a matter of fact, a movie Hollywood made called The Perfect Storm, starring George Clooney and this other guy, I forget the other guy's name.
Mark Wahlberg.
And in the movie, they were sailing, they were Gloucestermen, they were sailing trying to find a big fish to come back and set the market. So he said, look, we're gonna sail around the Horn. And the guy said, whoa, a lot of bad weather. The Horn? Because you got the Horn of South America and you got the Horn of Africa, where the worst weather conditions on the planet exist. Like in the movie The Perfect Storm. So there's no way. And Jake came under the Horn of Africa, coming through the Euphrates. They sailed under the Horn of Africa and then came into the Americas through there. And they came to the Americas through there. Now James Adair,
make sure everything.
James Adair is telling you in here. James Adair is telling you that about the pattern how the winds blow. He's telling you about the patterns of how the winds blow, James Adair, that there was no way in hell that the Chinese could have came from China down here to the Americas back at that time.
Right.
And I'm gonna read it again. It says China is about 8,000 miles distant from the American continent, which is twice as far across the Atlantic Ocean. And we are not informed by any ancient writer of their maritime skill, or so much as any inclination that way besides. Small coasting voyages. The winds blow likewise within little variation from east to west, within the latitudes of 30-odd north and south, and therefore they could not have driven them on the American coast, it lying directly contrary to such a course. And that's what James Adair says.
That's right.
History of the American Indians. So now we're going to go back into this, what's this guy, Kingsborough?
Yeah, Lord Kingsborough. Yeah.
Lord Kingsborough. Now it says the words of Las Casas lo que la tua manifestum te face. Your speech betrays you in reference to the Mexicans or some other tribe of Indians whom he took to be real Jews.
Right, because
Volume
they were
6,
speaking
page 332.
because they were speaking Hebrew, okay?
Original Indian traditions record that the province of Guatemala was in early ages colonized by the Jews who assumed the names Toltecas and established a powerful monarchy in that district of America. Volume 8, page 9.
Which were Israelites, which are those Aztec and Mayan Indians,
Yep.
Incas, or whatever type of Indians was in that region. Okay?
It says Sahagún's history of New Spain does certainly contain many metaphors and figures of speech evidently derived from the scriptures and which unequivocally prove the existence in former ages at least of the Hebrew language in America.
Right, because
Volume 8, page 163.
because when they came over to this side of the world, the so-called indigenous people, they were speaking the language and they were leaving certain relics of themselves. But then after a certain period of time, they lost it.
Columbus brought Hebrew interpreters with him Lost Tribes and Promised Lands, Ronald Sanders, pages 92 and 93.
So read that real
As a matter of
quick.
fact, I got it right
Well,
here.
I got the thing right here.
Oh, you got the
Yep.
page right
Yep,
there?
yep,
Okay.
we got the page. All right, I'm gonna read right to the point. It says, we do not know much concerning Columbus's crew of about 90 men aboard 3 ships, but at least one of them was an Israelite whose presence as such was not merely accidental. This was Luis de Torres, a convert of possibly only that year, who had once held a position with the governor of Murcia. He was said to have known Hebrew, Aramaic, and some Arabic, and had been brought along by Columbus specifically as an interpreter.
He was brought of he was what? What? Read that part again.
He said, and he had been brought along by Columbus specifically as an interpreter.
So the purpose of Luis de Torres to being brought over here was specifically to be an interpreter, because this devil knew where he was going. Don't listen to that bullshit in history that tells you that Columbus was looking for another route to India. That's the same bullshit that they teach you that Columbus discovered America. That's another fucking lie. So he wasn't coming this route to seek another route to India. He was coming over here because he knew that this land existed and the Hebrew Israelites were over here. That's why he quoted scriptures out of the Apocrypha in that movie 1492 or Conquest 1492 or whatever the hell the name of that movie is.
14
Okay?
something, yeah. It says, one of the purposes of the voyage, as we have seen, was to find the Great Khan.
Which is a goddamn lie, because he's trying to say the Great Khan of like in the land of India. Go ahead.
And Torres was to be the mouthpiece for this encounter, presumably on the basis of his Hebrew. Perhaps Columbus and his supporters had decided that the Great Khan, reported on by Marco Polo and others, might be the Israelite king who dwelt across the river from Prester John.
Right, so you know they basically throw their bullshit in there, but the truth is that the reason why Columbus brought a Hebrew interpreter with him was for the purpose of communicating with the people that were here, and that's why certain other European sources say that, like for instance, in the land of Hispaniola, the so-called among the so-called Dominicans, it's when they encountered them, they were speaking Hebrew. When Montesinos in Lost Tribes and Promised Land, you know the story a little better than I
actually
do.
got it there.
I bring it out.
Okay, matter of fact, I'll get it.
So Montesinos, when he came over here, he met a guide, an Indian guide, in the mountains of Quito, which is down in Ecuador.
Mount Quito.
Right, Mount Quito, which the guide's name was Francisco. You know, he was one of them so-called he was one of them Indian tribes, right?
I think so.
Yeah, and when he was down there, you know, he told Montesinos about the certain tribes that were calling themselves Israelites, you know, that spoke the Hebrew language, you know, and that there were certain people within that region that were Israelites. You got it yet, brother?
Yeah, it says Lost Tribes and Promised Lands, chapter 30, page 363. In September 1644, a Portuguese Marano named Antonio de Montesinos arrived in Amsterdam after having lived for some years in South America, and proceeded to tell the leaders of the recently established Jewish community there a story that caused them to think of him as a latter-day Eldad, the Danite. 2.5 years before, he told them while traveling in the wild mountains of Quito, he had heard some of his Indian guides remark that the natives of that country deserved all the suffering they had undergone at the hands of the Spaniards. When he asked them to explain why they thought such a thing, they had replied mysteriously that it was because we so badly treated a holy people, the greatest in the world. Nothing more had been offered by them on this point, but later in some conversation, Francisco, one of the Indian guides, had declared that his countrymen would be avenged upon the Spaniards in time anyway, by means of a people now hidden. The two references apparently were to the same people, but Montesinos, not seeing their full meaning in that moment, had put the whole matter out of his mind for the time being. Now I'm gonna just go to the point.
Yeah, go to the point. Yep.
It says, let me see.
The part where he was speaking to them.
Right, where he was speaking to the
When
Indians. I got it right here.
When they came in a canoe, the three Reubenites came in a canoe.
Yep. It's here. Let me see. I'm trying to get it to start exactly.
Yeah, because basically what happened was there was three so-called Indians, you know, Reubenites, so-called Seminole Indians that rolled up and spoke to.
I got it right here.
You got it. Bring it out.
It says it's talking about while they were traveling. It says, waving a banner high in the air, the Indian guide soon was greeted by a puff of smoke far beyond the other bank of the river. In response to his signal, the two men waited. Eventually a canoe appeared bearing 3 men and a woman, all of them Indians, to the place where Francisco and Montesinos were standing at the water's edge. It says
Go ahead, brother.
the woman got off and spoke to Francisco in an Indian tongue that Montesinos could not understand, although he could perceive that he was being identified in the conversation. She then turned to her male companions to explain the situation. Upon hearing her words, they rose, went over to Montesinos, and to his utter astonishment said, Shema Yasha Allah Adonai, Allahaya Nawa Adonai, Akkad.
Right. In other words, Shema Yasha Allah Yahweh, Allahaya Nawa Yahweh Akkad. Shema is, O Israel, the Lord our power is one. And that was something that was being said among Israel. Okay? That's why he said to his utter astonishment, he was taken aback. He said, how these people talking this lingo that, you know, how the hell did they know to speak about that?
Yep.
You know, why? Because they were Israelites. Okay?
It says they had recited in Hebrew the fundamental credo of Judaism. A brief conversation then ensued in their common ancestral tongue, according to Montesinos, whose fluency in it is almost as perplexing to the reader as his narrative, as is that of his 3 mysterious new companions. They told him that they were themselves of the tribe of Reuben, and that the tribe of Joseph lived on an island nearby.
That they told him they were themselves of the tribe of Reuben, and that the tribe of Joseph lived not too long there. That was what? The island of Puerto Rico. You know? And the reason why the Hebrew language that he spoke, and when he wrote it down in dialect, was so perplexing to the reader, was because they didn't understand the Lashon Kodash. So they were speaking the actual Lashon Kodash. So some Israelites that were here kept the actual language and they continued it. But some, you know how Jake is, sometimes Jake will learn the language and then they'll put slang into it, you know, and then by the time you come back to it and listen to it, and they trying to talk to you about certain things, and you might know the language, you know, and then you be like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? You know, but that's just the lingo that they built up. But these particular Israelites, they kept their language pure. And Luis de Torres, which was the interpreter, he knew exactly what language they were speaking of. That's why when the interpreters or the people that got the information later went back to it and was reading it, it was perplexing to them because they didn't understand the Lashon Kodash, which was the holy tongue. Because it wasn't written in the pseudo Hebrew language that was being taught back then. You can read that, brother. You got any more?
That was it.
All right, go ahead.
All right, this is the book of
Let's finish this up real quick.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 27, verse 9.
Right.
It says, the birds will resort unto their light, so will truth return unto them that practice in the earth.
So like as birds return to the resort to their light, so will truth return to them that practice in it. And that's where the Lord got us practicing in the truth and bringing out this information so that those people out there that are part of the elect, that are part of the tribes, can hear and learn and listen. Because only and come back to the fold. Because only the sheep of Yahushua are going to come back, which is what? The elect of Israel. Go ahead, brother. Finish
Now
that
back
up.
to this Lord Kingsborough document.
We're going to just read a few more sentences on here, and then we're going to close it. And then, you know, it's a lot more information. Other brothers can bring out other stuff too, you know. Go ahead, brother.
It says, and Malvenda says that the natives of St. Michael had tombstones which the Spaniards digged up with several ancient Hebrew characters upon them, as why is God gone away and he is dead, God knows, volume 8, page 373 supplement.
Now these volumes and pages are all the volumes of Kingsborough's books and the page that this particular quote is found in. So if you are lucky enough to get those volumes or be able to go to a certain library that has them, you can go into these different volumes and read that particular chapter or page, and you will see the same exact thing that we're reading to you. Go ahead.
It says, Chronicle of the Order of St. Augustine in Peru.
Peru. Okay.
2 other stones containing inscriptions in Hebrew and Greek letters.
Hebrew and Greek letters. Go ahead.
Are stated by Colancha on the authority of Brother Raymond Hurtado to have existed in the neighborhood of volume 8, page 25. The strongest argument, however, is the confession of Montezuma and his nobles, one and all, to Cortez that their ancestors had come from the same part of the globe as the Spaniards, situated towards the rising of the sun. Volume 6, page 53.
How did they come over here? There's a scripture on that, right?
It says 2nd Ezra 13 and 45.
Read that. Just read 2nd Ezra. Just read that one verse. 2nd Ezra 13 and 45.
2nd Ezra 13, verse 45. It says, "For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Asareth."
Right. So now, why did the Montezuma tell who was that, Cortez?
Told Cortez that.
Why did Montezuma tell Cortez that they came from the rising of the sun?
Which is
from
the east.
From the east, from the same region that they were from. He didn't say from China,
Right.
from way
Right.
back. You know, he said from that region. Why? Because where is Israel, Assyria, in comparison to where Europe was at? Not too far.
Yep.
Right.
So he said they came from that same region and they came over to this side of the world. On what? On ships.
Yep.
You know, they didn't cross no motherfucking Bering Strait. That bullshit. Because if you cross the fucking Bering Strait, you take one breath in 500 below 0 degree weather, and your whole lungs will just fucking freeze up. So that Bering Strait bullshit is nothing but that bullshit and a lie. Okay?
Reading here.
Yeah, finish up. Yep.
The interpreter of the paintings contained in the larger Vatican MS, instancing this and other traits of resemblance between the Mexicans and Jews, adds, from all these circumstances, the fact is plain and probable that this nation descended from the Jews. Volume 6, page 65.
Yeah, was that it, right?
That's it.
So pretty much with that's just one document, and you know what? That was just only like 5 or 6 pages of that document.
Yeah,
and if you read further down, it goes into pigs. You know how they didn't deal with pigs and other.
Yep.
Man, all kind of information is out there of the Israelites that were here in this side of the world.
Yep.
And this is just the tip of the iceberg of all this information. You know. And now that we're coming to the very end and the Lord is waking up the so-called Latin tribes or Native American Indian tribes, there's going to be a lot more information that's going to be coming out pertaining to these people that show that they're Israelites also. So I know it's going to hurt a lot of you faggots' feelings out there, but you know what? Get over yourself. All right? So with that, we're going to say shalom, and we're going to catch you next time.
Shalom, brothers.